Hey guys, welcome back to our world. Thanks for tuning in with us and spending time with us today. On today's episode, we're going to be talking about growing up Black and privileged, and we're going to give you guys, our upbringing, things that we experienced, opportunities, and different things like that we kind of have had the privilege of being able to have.
Yeah.
Over the years.
Thank you, Riley.
You're welcome.
Yeah. So, basically, to start off, I want to make it very well known that Riley and I are both Black women. I feel like you'll probably hear me say this a lot, but we are both Black women. We are a minority of minority. And so systematically, we are pretty much on the bottom of the totem pole when it comes to, just dealing with discrimination in this world. But at the same time, I do recognize that I come from a place of privilege based upon the upbringing that I had, and the fortunate opportunities that both of my parents paved a way for me to be able to experience growing up. We grew up in the South, so naturally, being in the South in general, you don't really see too many affluent African Americans outside of maybe like Atlanta, so to speak, which is like a metropolis for Black success, and in other states, maybe in Texas, like Houston, etc. But for the most part, in the state that we come from, and other surrounding states, you don't really see too much of that. And so our experience growing up was unlike most African Americans that come from where we come from, to the point of it's been noted that throughout the years, multiple people refer to Riley and I as Oreos, or being whitewashed, or, being, I don't even know, man, just ingrained in white culture. And it's just funny because, like, if you know anything about the two of us, like, you would know that, like, the music that we listen to, the things we like to do, the places we like to go, the people that we hang around, the majority of all of that is ingrained in, like, what you would consider Black culture. I've had people who randomly don't even know me, but just all of a sudden, think that I'm only interested, or I only date white guys. I've had them think that I only listen to country music, which, by the way, no disrespect to anybody that does listen to country music, but I'm personally not a fan.
I like country music.
Well, okay. Well,
it's only different. Because I lived in Texas for a bit, so you kind of...
Jordan Belfort.
That's not even country.
I remember one time we were in the car and you like had that song blasting, and I actually like kind of got into it. Like, that's like the only country song that I was
I don't even know if that's country.
To me, it is.
Not as country.
What is it? I've been sipping dirty something. Jordan Belfort.
Yeah, but okay.
Sure. Okay. It was really hard going to school in Nashville, Tennessee, where I went to school, because the majority of the bars and things to do there are, country music and line dancing, and I can't really get into any of that. But nonetheless, a lot of people put us into a box of like what we're supposed to be as a Black society, and it's like if we venture outside of that, then like we aren't considered Black. Like Riley and I, we grew up. My dad was extremely fortunate, so was my mom. We grew up going to the best private school in our hometown. We were afforded the opportunity to be able to play like club sports, club volleyball. We drove the best cars, had, one of the biggest houses. Foreigner. Shut up. Anyways. But, as you'll get on into later episodes, that lifestyle of what we were able to be blessed with did come at a downfall, or did come at a cost to, our lives, so to speak. So, I don't know, man. I mean, I think it's interesting because I think that, like, one of the things that I wanted to talk to you about, and this is, like, a huge topic, too, like, growing up, I always felt very insecure about, like, because of the fact that our experience growing up was so different than, like, most Black women or most Black men, it always put you and I in the light of, like, especially Black people. To be honest, the majority of the people who have called me whitewashed or said that I was an Oreo have been Black. And it's really interesting to me because it's like, as a society, as an African American society, I want to preface that there's more than one way to be Black. Like, you don't have to talk a certain way or come from a certain background or, do certain things in order to be Black. Like, Black 100%. Is a spectrum. You know what I mean? Like, you can you can be black and speak Japanese. You can be black and, go to, like EDM. You can be black and do a whole bunch of different things. You don't have to listen to rap. You don't have to come from a struggle. You don't have to, be hood. You don't have to be these things. Like there's a spectrum, and I feel like it's so interesting to me that people associate with who my sister and I are with like whiteness, because like, to me, I think I'm great. Like, I'm not saying I'm perfect, but I think I'm well educated, I'm well spoken, I'm very polite, you know what I mean? Like, I have good morals, good ethics, I'm a good person. So it's like the idea, I'm fun to be around. Like, the idea that you're attributing who I am to whiteness, to me, is giving white society too much credit. Like, you're giving them too much power. You're basically saying that like who I am, which like I said, I think that me and my sister were raised beautifully, is you don't think that it qualifies as being black. And that's so hard for me to wrap my head around, because that to me is a mindset that stagnates black society from growing and developing into bigger and better than currently what we are. Like, to me, you're putting a cap on what it means to be black, and if you step outside the box a little bit, you're not good enough, or you're not considered one of us. And I'm like, what the hell does that even mean? Like, why can't it just be I am who I am, and you accept me for who I am, you accept her for who she is, just as though I accept you for who you are? Everything that I do and I live is in a black woman's body. I cannot escape that. You can look at me a certain kind of way, but at the end of the day, I'm still going to get discriminated against, just like the next person, who is black next to me. Like I said, I come from a place of privilege, but nonetheless, I'm still an African American woman. I still have things held against me. I've had guys tell me that they don't deal with, black women because they're difficult to deal with, and dealing with a white woman is a lot easier. That's hard for me to hear, because I think that I'm a pretty easygoing person to get along with, but because of the fact that I'm already attributing to a black stereotyped in a negative light, or black women are being stereotyped in a negative light, you attribute me to that same experience that you had with black women, or with a black woman or other black woman, before. Mm-hmm. And so, it's really disheartening to hear this. I feel like, it's just been a struggle, I think, for me personally, I feel like I'm constantly having to fight to be accepted. And not even that I'm trying to, but it's like, in order for people to accept me, it's like I have to, like, it's almost like you have to prove yourself. Mm-hmm. Like you have to, overexert your efforts, to make people recognize you as a black woman. Yeah. And, it's
actually funny, because Dad always used to say, like, you have to work twice as hard to get half of what they get. Yeah. And I truly feel like that in life, just like overall in general, just by, what you're saying. Like, yes, like we talked about, my sister and I have grown up incredibly fortunate in the things that we we're able to do and stuff like that. And especially from, like I said, Reagan said, the state and the town that we're from, you don't see it. Like, I can remember growing up, like, I mean, hell, the school that we went to, you were like weren't you like one of the first black students there or something like that? Yeah, I was
one of the first black students there. And in my graduating class, there were only, I want to say like five or six of us that were black that graduated in my class.
Total?
Total.
And male?
Males and females.
Wow, okay. That's crazy. But yeah, you don't really realize it until you're older. I think that growing up, I didn't really feel, quote unquote, out of place, if that makes sense. I didn't really start realizing it again until like I got older. So, there's always been, I think for me personally, kind of even like Reagan said, which is I think is actually a really crazy thing, is that most of the comments that we've gotten about, again, like being whitewashed or, being whatever, have literally come from within the black community, mm-hmm. which is like so crazy to me. Like, I feel like, you know what I mean? Some of my best friends are white. Love them dearly, you know what I mean? And I've never had them say any type of outlandish or crazy comment to me, but I think that when it comes from within your own community, it's like, it's kind of is hurtful in a sense, because it's just like, you only are the way that you are, you know what I mean? And by your experiences, by the things that you've been accustomed to, by the way that you've been raised, that's fundamentally what shapes you into the person that you are and are going to become. So I think that, like, when you make a comment like that, it's like, well, I'm not sitting around here being like, you know what I mean? Well, oh, you're this and you're that because, you grew up differently than the way that I am. Like, I don't understand why we can't just all be one accepting community.
Yeah,
Like,
and
who
learn from
cares?
each other.
Yeah, and learn from each other.
I think that there's a great value in me having a different experience from another Black person sitting next to me, and us being able to share our experiences and learn and grow from each other. I mean, I would say for sure, I'm not a person who has that many street smarts. I didn't grow up in the streets. I don't know. I mean, I know some things, but I don't know everything. But I am book
I wouldn't
smart.
even know I know something.
Well, I know some things. I've been out enough.
Been
to know.
out.
But I'm book smart. Like that's just who I am as an individual, and not everybody who has the street smarts has the book smarts. So it's like, why can't we combine those two worlds together and flourish as a society? Like, why is that a thing?
Yeah, and then even like, and it's like funny now. But I feel like it's probably gonna be like this my whole life. But even like, I was back home this past weekend or whatever, and one of my cousins goes to or graduated from like whatever this university, and they were like, he was like, next time you come to homecoming, he was like, I'll take you, but you'll probably stand out. And I'm like, what the hell is that supposed to mean? It's just it's like people are always wanting to like poke at or like, and it's literally just by the way that I was raised and, what I grew up around and like what I'm accustomed to. And I don't think there's anything wrong with that. It's a hard pill to swallow when somebody's always questioning, oh, you're not Black enough, or you're not this, or you're not that, you know what I mean? Or, oh, you hang around too many white people, or all these different things. It's like such like a crazy thing to me that, people
and it's not
have
like,
this
it's
mindset.
not like, all of our friends are white. Like, we have a diverse group of friends from like African Americans to Nigerians to Persians to, Hispanics. Like, we have a diverse group of friends. Why are you laughing?
Because you said Persian, so it's like Lily.
Shut up. But yeah, I mean, it's a diverse group of people. And I think that there's a beauty in being able to blend your world with somebody else's and to grow from all walks of life, all races. You know what I mean? Like, you don't have to stay stuck in one singular experience and just live that out. I mean, you can grow and learn from everybody. Essentially, I mean, you want to talk about like, MLK, for example. He had a dream, judge a person by the content of their character, not the color of their skin. Well, I feel like hell, as soon as you look at me and you hear me speak, you're judging me by the way that I talk and the way that I look, rather than assessing me for who I am and, as a person. Because I can guarantee you that once you get to know me personally, you'll see a completely different side, and that you probably, and that's the crazy thing about it. When people really get to know me, I shock them with like what's inside of here, and like the things that I like to do, the mindset that I have on certain topics. Like, a lot of people are shocked that like I am this way. A lot of people are shocked that I can talk like this, but I can go out to a club and have
and what's crazy is that like our hometown is like 90% is an entirely Black population. Like first of all, the school that we went to I wouldn't even really say, yes, it was like predominantly white, but also the school that we went to, it was extremely diverse. It was an international school. Like, we grew up in a very like diverse environment. It wasn't like, just like white and Blacks. Like, we had people from, just all over the world. Like, it literally was an international school. Like, I grew up doing the things that I experienced at this one school that I went to is not the average experience that somebody has in like elementary or middle school or whatever. We had very different perspectives. So even for me, like, when I went to the high school, because Reagan stayed there her entire, like, from pre-K all the way up until she graduated. I left the school after 8th grade. And like, when I tell you the school that I went to in my high school was literally a shock for me. I never experienced anything like it. The first 3 months in, like, I wanted to go back to my hometown so bad. Like, I would cry to my mom about it, all these different things, because it was like I was entering in a whole new world and something, and I get that like change is good or whatever. And that's why it was such a shock for me to go from that like environment. Because honestly, like, that school that I went to, it felt like literal home. Like, the people that I was around were so caring. And even me and Reagan talk about, like, literally some of the best people. Now, I have met great people, since then. But, like, from my childhood, some of the best people that I've ever met, and Reagan said that too, have literally been from our hometown. Like, they're just real humble. Like, I don't know if it's a Southern thing, you know what I mean? But everyone's just like really like warm and welcoming. Like, it was just, we just had fun together.
Yeah.
And
I would agree with that.
Yeah.
I think like the hometown that we grew up in, it was simple, you know, and even the people who weren't as privileged as us, like, still showed us love. Like, they still respected us. Like, they still, I would say the comments that I've made about people questioning my blackness mainly come from like my college experience, and since then, that's when it's been questioned. But like, even as diverse as our hometown is, you know, compared to the black experience from what we have to what other African Americans in the city have, I've had, yes, there's some been there. The main thing that people come to me with is like, hey, like, you don't sound like you're from here. So anyways, yeah, but like literally some of the best people that I've met have been from my hometown. And regardless of what circumstances you come from, like, I feel like actually people there who like haven't been as privileged as we've been, or, you know, been fortunate with some of the same life circumstances that we've been, like, they kind of like admire us. Like, they kind of like, to be honest,
yeah,
like,
for sure.
they kind of like really like look up to us as like, you know, an inspiration, so to speak. But it's like, when I stepped outside of Memphis, like, I have people looking down on me, like, you know, you're not good enough, you're not one of us, this, that, and the third, like, yada, 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 which is so crazy. Like I said, our hometown is just a simple place. Like, everybody just vibes each other. Yes, there's some problems there. You know, there's some crime there. I'm not gonna lie. There's a lot of crime. But for the most part, like, people are just cool. Like, I've never had a situation with somebody from my hometown that I've really had a problem with that, like that. Like, I mean,
yeah,
like
I
said,
didn't start having problems with people literally until I got to high school, because like there were some like, and also I never experienced racism until I got to my high school as well. Like, there are some things that happen, like even like, you know, some white people like saying the N-word and stuff like that. And it was so mind shocking to me that like people actually did that. Like, some of the things that happen over at that school are literally mind boggling to me, because it's like, it's nothing of what I experienced at my first school. It was just so crazy to go from one school from where I came from to go to this like completely different school. And like, yes, like there were nice people, don't get me wrong. Some of my best friends come from that school. You know who I'm talking about for you. You know what I mean? Whatever. But you know.
love you.
Love you. But also at the same time, like, there were some crazy things that happened, especially, you know what I mean, being black going to that school. And honestly, you know, I might have to bring on Tater Tot and some other people.
It was a predominantly white school. Like, our school
sure.
was diverse and predominantly white, but this school was predominantly white.
Yeah. Oh, and I also went to a Christian academy, so that was also very new for me as well too. Like, I had to take like Bible classes and different. I've always like grown up in the church and stuff like that, and my mom's took me to church, but I've never like
had to study
the Bible. And like, even like the things of like, you know, and I think that it's so important that you find the right teacher to really be able to teach you the Bible. Like, I remember, for instance, I don't even know if I ever told you this, but literally this was my like third week going to this school that I went to. We're like 13 years old, like fighting, like literally like having verbal arguments going back and forth about like abortion, like, and about like, you know what I mean, like sex before marriage, and like all of these crazy topics I had never experienced in my life. Like, people would leave that class having like mental breakdowns. Like, people would leave crying because of like, you know what I mean, somebody said something. Like, I remember I'd gotten to a debate one time about, you know what I mean, like, this was like a lot of things when like, you know, police brutality against like black men, and I was speaking up on that, and somebody had said something to me, and I literally was like arguing back and forth with them about it. Like, the shit was wild. Like, I came into an entire culture shock, and I sit back and I wonder why I don't like it. And then I like recall moments like this, and I'm like, yeah, like, fuck that shit, bro. Like, why would you ever in your life have, like, you know what I mean? Why are we 13 fighting about abortion?
Especially at such a young age. Yeah.
Especially at such a young age. And then like, even some of our teachers, they said some out of pocket things, bro. Even like in relation to the Bible. I remember there was this one girl, and I had always thought that she was like a goody two shoes or whatever, and she had come up on my TikTok For You page, and she had done like a spread, or I don't know what to call it, but she had basically done like a video about, you know, like things that like my Christian high school would like, you know what I mean, you would be shocked about that they try to teach us. And it was so interesting for me to hear her, because I had always felt that way, but I had always thought that she was like, she thought the same way that they did. You know what I mean? Like, you know what I mean? And even like we had kids at our school that were like atheists. It was totally like it would. I could go on for days about this little school.
We'll have to create a whole episode dedicated
no, literally,
to this.
because my experience over at that school, boy, oh boy, oh boy, oh boy, do I have stories.
But I would say, so she had 2 different school experiences growing up. I only had one, and that was in our hometown. I went there from the time that I was 3 up until I graduated. But like we had mentioned, it was such a close, tight-knit like environment, and the school was small too. I mean, in my graduating class there were only maybe 70 people, if even that. 70, no more than 80 for sure. And like I said, I think maybe 7-ish or 8 at most were black for my graduating class. But because of the environment that I grew up in, I was really sheltered. I'm not gonna lie. My mom raised me to be super strong and stuff like that, but I think I just grew up around just genuinely good-hearted people.
Yeah.
To when I went to college, it was such a culture shock for me, and I was coming into contact with people from all over the United States, coming from a whole bunch of different schools, and I literally got knocked on my ass with just how much drama and mental and emotional abuse and just all of this shit just kind of came at me, and I just wasn't ready to handle it.
Yeah.
And I was trying to come at situations from a nice perspective, but every time I just got just tossed around. Barely anybody had any respect for me. Nobody really cared for me the way that I cared for them. There were a few people that did, and once again, if you're watching this, you know who you are. I love you. But outside of that, there aren't too many people that I graduated with or who went to the school that I went to that I even talk to nowadays. In fact, there are several people that I actually would choose to completely stay away from and want nothing to do with ever again. So, but those lessons teach you stuff. But like I said, there was this one guy that basically told me that, once again, kind of going back to earlier about how people basically tell me I'm white and not black, that I didn't know anything about being black, that I have no idea what it's like to be black. I don't know anything.
This?
Yes, I have no idea about black culture,
crazy.
But yet asked me to write a paper for him on James Baldwin. And I just...
And mind you, Reagan went to a very prestigious university.
Very prestigious school.
So it's
prestigious school. And it just blows my mind. It blows my mind. It's with the person who said this, if you're watching this, I really hope that you're doing well in life. I'd love to see what you're up to these days.
I don't hope you're doing well in life. I hope that you educate yourself.
Yes. Literally. And it's just crazy because I think the only thing that really differentiates myself is the fact that I talk different than most would. And the fact that I know things. I'm smart. I say big words. It's just what is wrong with that? Do you want me to be dumb?
Right.
Literally, I'm so fucking serious though. Do you want me to be out here not knowing shit? I feel that's what we want as a society.
That's what we want.
To grow and to become smarter and bigger and better. That's what we should want. We've had hundreds of years of being oppressed and enslaved and literally taught that we could forced into not being able to read and write, punished if we did, and we finally get an opportunity after hundreds of years of brutal and traumatic oppression to be able to do this, and I'm being made fun of because I'm doing what my ancestors fought so hard for. It doesn't make any fundamental sense to me. Yeah. Literally, I get
I don't know.
You honestly just have to feel I feel pity for the people that make fun of me, because it's wow, you're so locked up in your own mind about what it means to be black that you're not going to progress that way. You're not going to progress. Your family's not going to progress. It just blows my mind.
Literally everything in life comes down to mindset. And it's the biggest thing. Your mindset will keep you stagnant or it'll keep you moving and progress you. So it's people who make those certain comments, not to say that they're not going to go anywhere in life. I don't know what these people are going to end up doing. If they go do great things, okay, cool. But yeah, it's at sometimes it's you really do have to check yourself. And I think it's interesting that when people make these comments to us, they really think that they're right in what they're saying. You know what I mean? It's yeah,
because everybody says it. So it's
that.
You hear it from one person. It's oh yeah, that, they don't talk like I do. So yeah, they're white, or, they're this or they're that. It's such a repeated thing to where now in the mass community, within the black community, you get anybody could come up to us and say this.
Yeah.
It's so common to hear that. And I know that my sister and I are not the only ones that have experienced this.
Yeah.
Like, I know that we're not. So it's just so crazy to me. Like, I could see if I was out here, being an Uncle Tom, thinking that, whiteness is rightness, and, I'm being so serious. Like, I could really see if I was like, advertising that, but that is like the furthest thing from the truth. Like, I love who I am as a Black person. I love who I am as a Black woman. Like, I embrace who I am. And I think the world of myself and my sister and our family, and like what we've overcome to be able to get to where we are today. And I don't look down upon that. So it's so crazy to me. And it is disheartening to know that there are so many people out here who do look down upon us, or who do, ostracize us from our own identity. Like, I can't escape the skin that I'm in. I can't, change myself. Like, this is just as who I am. And it's just, it really says a lot that people just don't accept me for who I am, and that I'm categorized into something that I don't even identify myself with. So, like I said, like, Riley and I, we're just eclectic, diverse individuals. Yeah, we're just thugging it out. Like I said, if you take the chance to get to know us and like go out with us and have a good time and just be around us, you'll see like we're so much more than like what people might think. So I don't care what people think. If you know anything about me, you should know that, first of all, I would not be doing this podcast talking about our entire life if I cared what people think. But it is a point to say that it's important that I acknowledge that it is frustrating to have people constantly come at me with like, these negative connotations about who I am. It is annoying. I don't care what they think, but I feel like it's important to put people on notice about like, this is not right. It's not right, and it's got to stop, because at the end of the day, I mean, the only thing that you're doing is preventing our society from progressing. Because imagine if you had like a Black female, who's younger, and she's constantly being told by all of these people, Black men and women, white, Hispanic, whoever, that she's white, that she doesn't fit into the Black community. She might, if she's not strong enough, grow up her entire life having an identity crisis, not knowing where she fits in, feeling insecure to go.
Yeah. I think that's a very big point to touch on, because literally. And then kind of also at the same time, people don't realize the comments that they make towards somebody. And just like you said, if you're not strong enough to be like, you know what I mean, I don't really care what you say, like I'm going to be who I am. Like, some people genuinely may like stray away from not wanting to be a part of, that community that, should be the ones that are including them and embracing them and inviting them and doing all these different things. Like, it's literally, it's wild to me. Like, I would never, and I mean never, go up to any race, I don't care what it is, and be like, oh, well, you're this wash, or you're that. Like, it's so crazy to me. And it's like, I feel like we only get, the brunt of it. But I just think that it's weird that people literally will talk about you and make assumptions about you, and they don't even know you.
I've seen a lot of people, as mentioning like identity crisis earlier, like it could easily be like a Black female who she's just different. Okay, she's a little different. And, you have all these people coming up to her saying, oh, well, you're whitewash, you like, I don't even know, like, why are you using such big words? Like, why do you talk like that? Like, blah, blah, blah. And then she feels so insecure in her own skin as a Black woman that she starts to stray towards becoming, ingraining herself in white culture, because those are the only kind of people that are really going to accept her.
Yeah.
Like, I've seen that firsthand. It can make a person feel really insecure. Like, damn, I want to be a part of the Black culture. I want to hang out with these Black people, but if every time I open my mouth, or every time I do something,
it's gonna make you feel uncomfortable. Like, why would you want to be around people who are always, making
fun of you, or talking shit about you, or making you feel insecure, like you're not one of them? Like, who wants to be around that? Yeah. Like, it should be an including and embracing environment for those that look like you. I mean, I don't know. It's just really sad, and but at the end of the day, even if they go towards being in the white community, they're still always going to be different. There's still going to be, racial slurs that are thrown out at them sometimes. They're still not going to ever be able to live that white experience. They're always still going to be ostracized because they're not white. They don't live that white experience. They might, do certain things that are more ingrained in white culture, but at the end of the day, they're still a Black individual at the end of the day. So I think it's just important to like embrace everybody. You know what I mean? Like, for who they are. I mean, I'm not saying that everybody has to get along. You have to hang out with everybody. There are some people that are just not your freaking cup of tea. But like, I think you should really look at the person and who they are on the inside. And honestly, with being educated and things of that sort, like you should want to hang around people who are like smarter than you. I've always heard
like mentors, people that are smarter than you, like they can teach you so much. But
if you're the smartest person in the room, you're not in the right room. You need to be around people who are smarter than you, or at least on the same level as you, smart wise, and some who are smarter than you. If you want to excel and grow in this world, you can't be the smartest person in the room. So I feel like it would behoove people who to me are making fun of me to want to be around me. I just
no,
don't understand.
But and even like a point in like my best friends know this too, and I tell people this all the time, but like I genuinely prefer to be around like older adults. Like I'm not even kidding. Like if you're always constantly around like people that are around your age, and especially if they're not growing and doing anything with their lives, and on the same BS that they've always been in, like you're just gonna stay stagnant in your life. Like there's actually gonna be no growth, and that took me a long. And I had heard one of my best friends' mom said this too. And it was like literally like your comfort zone will kill you. And it's so true. Like I've especially learned this like, recently and, things that I've had to do. And I've, because of everything that's gone on with our mom and dad, like, we've had to grow up pretty much extremely fast. And just like in our life in general,
we've always been very mature for our age. We were forced, and that's where you'll hear stories later on. We were basically forced to grow up and think on an adult level, way before we even got to the ages that we are now. Yeah, I mean, I would say I think more like a 45-year-old woman, and Riley's probably at like maybe like 35. To be honest, I'm just gonna be real. I really do think that way.
You think
I think you're 35. Very mature for your age.
Yeah, I've had to be.
I would say I'm close to like my 50s in my thought process about life.
And I think with being a lot more mature, like it puts you at an advantage, but it also puts you at a disadvantage, because it's just like a lot of the things that people my age are doing, like especially right now with everything that's going on with my life, it's like I like literally can't relate to you. You know what I mean? Like people are going out and partying and doing all these things, and I'm like, flying around, talking to lawyers, handling this business, handling that business, like starting my own business, you know what I mean? So it's kind of interesting to me, like how people's journey on life go. But like, yeah, I mean, we'll get into it later, but we've been forced to have to
We've been through some shit. We've literally been through the ringer. And
tossed
around. And that has forced us to grow up at an exponential rate compared to most people who are our age. Yeah. And I'm not mad at it, but it is something to know. I mean, I'm glad.
It lets you know why we are the way that we are. And I feel like a lot of people don't take that into account. Like, people would be like, oh, like everyone is who they are because of the things that they have been through, whether that's good experiences, bad experience, and that's why, you know what I mean? Like there are even some friends of mine love them to death, you know what I mean? And family members. But it's just like they haven't been through the things that I've been through. So then therefore, it's kind of hard for me. Like I'm not mad at you for it. Like hell, I literally would not wish the shit on one. Let me tell you that. But I think that it's interesting to see, because of what different people have been through, how they treat you, how they act towards you, you know what I mean? What words they say to you, how much support of how much they're going to actually be there for you. It literally is everything in life is based on lived experience at the end of the day. So I think that it's like crucial to surround yourself with people who have been through more stuff than you, who can teach you and you can help learn from, experience. And especially with Reagan and I being so young, I mean, we've literally had most of the traumatic things, and like our childhood was traumatic in general. We'll get into that at a later point. Yes, you know what I mean? We were, I guess you could quote unquote say wined and dined, but we were also
we also had some shit happen. And honestly, that's something that we really do want to get into on the channel too. Like we talk about how we come from a place of privilege, and that definitely has been the case. We've been afforded blessings on blessing, but at the same time, our life has gotten flipped completely on its ass, like all the way upside down. I mean, some of the worst tragedies that could ever happen to an individual at the age of 21 and 25 have happened to us already in our lives. Like literally, I mean, it's
And it has changed the course of our life.
Yeah, it's
like,
forever.
entirely.
It will change the entire course of our life forever. And it's something to really, and this is one of the reasons why I'm so excited about doing this podcast is just, this is like an opportunity for me to like sit back and for us to sit back and like reflect on this. Like these things that have happened to us, good, bad, you know, beautiful and ugly, how have they impacted us? How have we grown? Decisions that we're going to make, people that we're going to include in our lives, things that we're going to push away. Like these are all evolutions of like our story and our journey. And like ultimately, like we said, like we want to help people like who are going through a difficult time, who don't see a light at the end of the tunnel. You know, one of the things that I wanted to ask Riley was, you know, are you nervous that people are going to judge us? You know, hearing this podcast, are you nervous that people are going to judge us? You know, basically talking about how privileged we are. Like, do you think that that's a concern of yours?
No, because I think that honestly, if the takeaway is that you just think that we're sitting over here talking about this charmed life that we've had, then you're really not listening to everything else. Because that is literally our life entirely from the 21 years that I've, you know, been blessed to have. I would say like 2% of it has been privilege and charm. I honestly think the rest of like the 98% of our life, and like a lot of people don't know this, you know, because I think even growing up, like nobody talked about, they always just saw, oh, these girls have money. You know what I mean? They're fine. Like they pull up to school in this car, you know what I mean? Like they don't really know what goes on at home or, you know, things that we've been through or, you know, like, you know, we've literally seen like, you know, our parents get into, you know, tuffles. Is that the right word? Disputes?
Very aggressive disputes.
Yeah, you know what I mean? Like a lot of, you know, shady business.
Not any like physical.
Yeah, not any physical.
More like verbal, but extremely like
volatile.
vile and volatile verbal situations.
So I'm not really like scared. I think that it's important for people to understand that, you know, just because you come from money, because a lot of people don't talk about this. Like, you know, a lot of people, and even like on TikTok and stuff like that, like, you know, TikTok is a platform where I see like a lot of people who are, you know, struggling like really badly, low income families, you know, posting, and there are people that are, you know, there to help them and guide them and, you know, want to give them this and that and stuff like that. But also at the same time, people who do come from money, they don't ever talk about their problems. So you never, you know what I mean? And because you don't have people who aren't willing to like really open up and be like, yeah, this is what the fuck I've been through in my life, you know, because we're all human at the end of the day and we all go through things. I don't understand, and I never will, and that's why I really don't like social media, and that's why I'm not on it, because everyone just wants to post like the good parts of their life, like, oh, I'm doing this or oh, I'm doing that. That's great and all, but that's just a temporary moment in time, you know what I mean? What is everything like once you go home? You know what I mean?
Once the door's
like
closed and you're by yourself.
Exactly. You know, what are you thinking about? How is your, you know, mental well-being? You know what I mean? Like everything's great and all when you post on whatever, but you know, there are a lot of individuals out here who are really going through a lot of things. Like even I'm scrolling on TikTok and like there will be like a sad video that came up of you, like, you know what I mean? And it'll just be like, you know, it'll say something along the lines of like, God, just give me the strength to like let me live one more day, and it has like 1.1 million likes, you know what I mean? And it's crazy. And it's like, you know, we live in a society where it's like, you know, people are really struggling, you know, and people are really going through things. But I think that it's also important to emphasize and see like, you know, we've struggled, maybe not financially, but that's also what people have got to realize, is that there are more struggles out there than just finances. Like it is so baffling to me. Like, yes, like it is great and all, and like I said, I know that I'm privileged enough to, you know, not necessarily have to worry about money, but there are you know 20 million other different things that I have to worry about as well too, you know. So it's just, no, I'm not scared for people to hear my story. If anything, you know, I want you to hear it, and I want you to either be inspired by it or be like, you know, whatever. Reagan and I are going to get into, you know, things that we've been doing. And listen, Reagan knows this. I may be on camera and, you know, I can go out there every single day and do what I need to do. But like, trust me, like, you know, there will be nights, if not multiple times a week, that, you know, I absolutely just, you know, bawl my eyes out, you know, from what I've been going through. You know, I'm still healing. Like I'm still journaling. I don't have everything figured out. Trust me,
You're
I do
fucking
not.
21 years old. You shouldn't.
Well, I know, but I'm just saying, like, like people watching. I don't want people to get like the wrong impression of like, oh, they're fine, everything's like glorious in life and stuff like that.
I get it.
Whatever. Like, no, like like there will be days, and I never used to be like this, but there will be days that like people text me all day long, and like I literally don't have the mental capacity to respond to anyone. Like there will just be days I don't want to do anything. Like I just want to lay in bed and I don't want to get up. I don't want to move. I don't want anyone to call me. I don't want anyone to bother me. Even when Reagan comes in the room, I'm literally like, get the actual out of here.
I'm like, damn, bitch. Well, you too.
So it's more than, we're not coming and we're not talking about, like, growing up, like whenever I'd watch YouTube, I would always just watch like vlogs and like, makeup channels and like lifestyle videos and all this different stuff. And, everyone was happy essentially. You know what I mean? Like everyone was posting about all this stuff. I honestly really don't think, and I could be wrong, but I don't really think that it was until TikTok that people really started like posting their like real lives. You know what I mean?
Or do it for the Vine. Vine came out before TikTok. I think.
Yeah, I don't know. I didn't have Vine, so I don't know what people were
Vine.
posting. Well, or piece.
I never actually posted on Vine. I don't think. I never.
Well, I'm like saying like what you watch. Like, were people like talking about like their struggles and
a little bit, yeah.
Okay.
But TikTok is definitely more of a
okay. Well,
platform.
TikTok, yeah, took it off, or whatever. So I think that growing up and seeing all that stuff or whatever, it was just like we kind of lived in like a delusion in a sense. Like I would see all these whatever, but again, like I didn't know what was going on past the point of like the edited video and all this different things. So I think what makes us stand out from other people is that we're really trying, and I feel like people are trying to do this as now too, but really talk about life and what that looks like. My mom was a big advocate on like talking about life. That's why for me, I literally cannot be friends with anyone who's not intellectual and cannot talk about life because it's like I can't do it. Like I don't. There's like
we have to be able to have deep conversations.
Yes, we have to be able to.
If
have
it's anything surface level, I don't want it.
Yeah.
I really don't want it. What's the purpose of it? How is it helping me grow? What am I learning from you? What are you learning from me? How are we building a relationship together?
Exactly.
I mean, if I want to talk about superficial shit, I'd just go on fucking Omegle and talk to somebody random halfway across the world. I'm being serious. But yeah, I just knowing the lifestyle that we've had, and I know that you said that you're not worried about speaking to people about how privileged we are because there's a backstory behind it, good and bad, that it's a valuable lesson for people to take away. But do you feel like growing up, kind of getting everything that we've ever wanted, asked for, et cetera, like do you kind of feel like do you feel like our life circumstances, because like we've never gone without, we've always got what we wanted,
right?
You've never had to want for anything no matter what it was. So do you feel like our life circumstances have pushed you to be humble about what it is that we have because of all of the shit that we've gone through? Because I feel like some people might have acquired all this stuff. Oh, I got this, I got that, whatever. And they get a big head about it, But I would say that you and I don't have that. So do you feel like it's these life circumstances that we've gone through that have allowed us to understand that we're privileged, but also be extremely humble about it?
Yeah, I think, and even mom, I remember mom used to say this, and even like, I'll still say this to like people till this day and stuff like that. But mom used to be like, friends of mine would, come up or whatever when we were younger. I don't know if you ever had the same experience too. And they would be like, oh my God, like, like your family, like y'all are so rich, all this different stuff, da 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 da. And mom would always like correct them and be like, we're not rich, we're blessed. You know what I mean? And I truly do believe that. Like, we're just blessed. Like, and there's so many more ways that you can quote unquote be rich. Yes, I understand in this instance you're talking about finances and stuff like that. But, I actually think that everyone's end goal in life is to acquire some type of financial gain, whether you were brought up in it or whether that is your life work to sit over here and go and provide like dad did, like a lot of people, like literally, like even like I hear YouTubers and stuff like that, and they talk about, oh, you know what I mean, like once I got my first big check off of YouTube, like I went out and I bought, you know what I mean, like a Cartier bracelet, or I bought like this Louis Vuitton bag and different stuff like that. But I also think that in that same breath, when you grew up having those things, you don't idolize those things because you learn that they really don't mean anything. You know what I mean? Like, I could go out and buy, you know what I mean, the next greatest Louis Vuitton bag, but that doesn't do anything for me. It just like it creates this facade. And I honestly wish that more people talked about this. So I think that it's allowed us to be humble and stuff like that, because mom never, like, even growing up, mom would always be like, you know, like, don't go around like, you know, flashing like your new bag and stuff like that. Like, that's just the way that we were raised. Anytime that we had anything nice, mom would always say, if people see it, they'll say something. You don't have to go around and be like, tell them about it. Oh, you know, look at what I got. You know what I mean? If they say it, if they see it and they comment on it, okay, cool. But you don't have to go around flashing, oh my God, look what I just got. You know what I mean? Da, 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 da. I've never been like that. Mom was never like that. She was never flashy about anything that she had. So just naturally, you know what I mean? Me being around that and me growing up with that, I've kind of been the same way too. I never talk about, oh, you know what I mean? Well, look what I have. And that's why, honestly, it really grosses me out when people do that. I'm not gonna lie to you, because it's just like, I don't see why people feel the need to do that. If you have it, great, but like, why do you have to go around like being like, oh, like, you know, well, I got this or I got that. Like, I don't get it. I truly don't. So, you know, I just think that the life lessons that we've been instilled have made us be humble despite the privilege that we have had. And I honestly think that, like, you know, like, yes, like, you could quote unquote say, like, even like, you know, some of my friends' parents would say, well, being like, oh, like, you were so spoiled or whatever. But like, you can raise your kids to be spoiled and get what they want, but also be incredibly humble about it at the same time too. Like, you don't have to go around. It would be different if I was like, oh yeah, well, look at me and look what I have. Like, I think that I'm better than you, all this different stuff. I don't think that I'm better than a goddamn person. You know what I mean? The only person that I'm trying to be better than is literally myself each and every day. That's the only person that I'm trying to be better than. Other than that, I don't care what car you drive or what type of house you live in or what shoes that you wear. You know what I mean? Because all that stuff means nothing. And even like, you know, burying mom and dad recently, you know, and all they had were just things. You know, like, when you pass away, like, the shoes and the clothes and everything, that doesn't come with you. You know what I mean? Like, none of that comes with you. So it's just like, to have all of this.
I think that that's also something too that we want to talk about later on, is like the importance of, like when you'll see in the next episode, we'll talk about, you know, my dad. You know, we just wanted, what's more valuable than materialistic things in this world is experiences with people, making memories, you know, having
Quality
deep conversations,
time, yeah.
quality time. That is invaluable, truly. Establishing those real, genuine connections with people, that is completely invaluable. I think that as a society, as a Black culture, we really do have to be more open-minded towards different types of individuals who step into our space or step into, you know, the community, so to speak, or who are within the community, so to speak, and not ostracize them because there might be differences than what you would consider as stereotypically Black. I think that we have to come together and really embrace all different individuals who look like us, because at the end of the day, that's the only way we're going to progress forward. You know, another takeaway from the video is, you know, just because you grow up with certain privilege, you know, financially, you know, does not necessarily mean that you haven't gone through hardships. You know, there are definitely some things at the end of the day that Riley and I, as we mentioned, life experience that we've had that we wouldn't wish upon our worst enemy. So you might look at us and think, oh, these girls live a charmed life and things of that sort. But at the end of the day, you know, that doesn't mean that we haven't suffered tragedies. You know, everything in life comes at a cost. You know, and I think one thing that I will say about all of this is, despite any of the circumstances, whether that me being, you know, basically told that I'm, you know, I don't fit within who I identify with, or, you know, having these tragedies, I'm grateful for these experiences because they've shaped me and developed my mind to think larger and bigger than what it was before. You know, I'm a lot wiser, you know, I'm a lot stronger. I'm a lot more aware of the world around me. And that's something that I can't take back. So hopefully if you're watching this video, you've been able, you're in a situation like me, you're a Black woman or a Black male, and, you know, you've, you know, had these insults thrown at you. You're able to take away some strength from this and knowing that, you know, you are on the right track in life. Don't let anybody take away who you are, what your identity is, the things that you like to do. You are who you are, and that is beautiful, and that is who God made you to be. And there is no one or nothing that can take that away from you. Always hold that close to your heart. And anybody who, tries to deny you of what you know that you are, just feel sorry for them. Just pray for them at the end of the day, because they know not what you know. And so, you just have
Purr
to,
for the people in the back.
You just have to keep it pushing, and, hope that one day their worldview on what it means to be Black or to be Hispanic or to be white or to be Asian, so to speak, is larger than what it currently is. I mean, as a world in general, we have to get out of this mindset that there is one way to be one race. That is one of the reasons why, we've been so stagnant as an African American community, is that not only do other people look at us as a certain kind of way and what we should be, but we also do that to ourselves. And that is harmful to our progression. But we look forward to talking more about our life experiences and things that we've gone through, and really hope that, you've taken away some valuable lessons that will transcend not through only your day to day, but throughout the rest of your life, and the way that you, look at yourself and, look at other people and treat them as well. Thank you for coming to watch our channel. On the next episode, we'll be talking about how our dad on welfare became a millionaire and the impact that had on him and our family. We'll see you next time. Thanks for coming.